Hey everyone, welcome back to Moving the Chains with Ashmere here on Nuts and Bolts Sports. It has been an eventful football weekend that did not disappoint. Literally filled with so many exciting games. I think the only upset was for Baltimore because I had predicted Baltimore to go to the Super Bowl, as I'm sure everybody betting in Las Vegas did. So that was the top upset of the weekend. But let's start with the game that is the most recent, which was yesterday's Clemson versus LSU for the college football game. LSU, Joe Burrow, Thaddeus Moss, Jamar Chase, just so many good players for LSU that came through after they were down early on. I mean, I had people betting against me, telling me that Clemson was going to win because they had won last year, and I believe Trevor Lawrence was going to come back and win again because they are both very top tier quarterbacks. They played like exceptionally well until Joe Burrow got his rhythm going. It was hard to see LSU losing that game. And it was an exciting game. I just felt bad because I feel like he really put the nail in the coffin early on after he had started to throw a couple good deep passes. Like, it was basically over for Clemson. Their defense was shook up. They couldn't catch anybody on the sidelines. And Joe Burrow was just playing as he's known to play, which was stealthy and athletically, like, impossible to catch. So it was a clutch performance by Joe Burrow and LSU. Great game. They won in New Orleans. OBJ was there celebrating, giving out money. That was pretty cool. Joe Burrow had completed 463 yards while Trevor Lawrence had only completed 200. I mean, double the amount of yards for passing and rushing. 5 touchdowns. I mean, Burrow just really put this game in the bag, and when he was walking around like flashing his hand for the ring, I just feel like he knew that once LSU had gotten their flow together and everybody was playing cohesively, they were going to dominate this game. I mean, I felt they were going to win because Joe has been playing perfectly all year. And I mean, I kind of have a question for the audience and my team if they want to answer, but I just want to know if everybody thinks that, is Joe Burrow the best QB in college football history? I'm going to have to say yes. Simply by the performance he put on last night. Like I mentioned, his stats, 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. His energy, his athleticism, the way he spreads in the pocket when the defense is closing in on him. He's just very versatile. He's figured out how to maneuver and lead his offense and continue to carry them through even when they were down. I mean, you didn't even see a sign of like nervousness on the sidelines, and I feel like that is really like the definition of a true leader, similar to how Patrick Mahomes was, but that's a different conversation. But there was just no upset on the sidelines from the LSU team, and I think that's just because they knew once they were to get things together, they would figure out a way to win, and they did beautifully because they were just scoring dimes. So really fun game to watch last night. I hope everybody watched it, and let's move on to some NFL. Off with the first game of the weekend, which was the San Francisco 49ers against the Minnesota Vikings here in the Bay Area, and the Vikings offense was just demolished by the 49ers defense. They essentially stopped them on the passing game and on the running game, and you know, it was impossible to see anything changing for Kirk Cousins on the offense, especially because he was sacked 6 times. Just very difficult defensive performance that they couldn't beat for the Vikings. And when it came for the 49ers, their rushing game and their running game was essentially what led them to win this game. Tevin Coleman coming back with 2 touchdowns was just like very needed for the 49ers. And each of them, as in Kirk and Jimmy, threw an interception, but I don't really think that played as a huge factor for the Niners. It did lead the Vikings closer to the end zone to kick a field goal, but they couldn't score anything after the second quarter. And once that happens, you kind of come to a bust in the first half. I feel like that's very difficult to come back from. For the 49ers to win next week against the Packers, I think essentially all they have to rely on is their defense and to have 0 turnovers, even though there weren't that many this week. But that's just something that'll play as a factor against the Packers offense because they can utilize those turnovers and result those in touchdowns. So let's move on to the second game, which is going to be the Tennessee Titans versus the Ravens. And I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like that was the upset of the weekend. I predicted Baltimore to win. I predicted Baltimore to go all the way. And the Titans defense just shut him down. I mean, there were 2 options when they had a 4th and 1 and they were just stuffed. Baltimore couldn't turn those into a first down, and the one that was attempted by Lamar Jackson was just like very painful to watch, because typically that guy is able to get through any defense, or he'll kind of bop around and figure out a way to get a first down, but it was impossible for them to do. Derrick Henry has been a lightning player the last 3 games. All the past 2 upsets are just amazing to watch. 195 yards, a passing touchdown. Like, he's playing spectacularly, and Ryan Tannehill has just turned a lot of negative commentary into positive, like, energy for him and the team. For Baltimore, Lamar Jackson had 365 yards, and that's going to be the number of days it's going to take him to get over this loss, man. Like, that was a tough one to watch. I was rooting for him the entire season, but great performance by the Titans. Next week, I believe the Titans are going to play very well against the Chiefs. I feel like offensively, this is going to be a really fun matchup. Defensively, I believe the Titans' defense is stronger than the Chiefs, so that'll be something that will be easy to watch as that game continues on. And for the third game, we'll roll right into the Chiefs and the Texans with the biggest deficit and return winning game for Patrick Mahomes. He was down 21 points in the first quarter, but I can't say this wasn't expected, okay? The Oakland Raiders were beating the Chiefs 17-0 in the first quarter. I know it's the Raiders, I know everybody's thinking, but still, Patrick Mahomes came back and scored 24 points in the second quarter, and he did the same thing against the Texans. And I feel like that's something that just proves how reliable he is as a quarterback. He is just not afraid to turn down, right? I feel like that's such a key thing to remember. Nobody was nervous on the sidelines. Andy Reid wasn't nervous. Patrick Mahomes was just like, another touchdown, it's fine, we'll figure it out. There was one key play that the Texans probably could have won if this didn't happen, and I know everybody is picturing it in their minds now. So there are 2 key 4th down plays that the Texans should have, I think, done differently. And the first one is the 4th and 1, where they kicked a field goal rather than going for it, and they should have, because they would have scored, there would have been 28 points in that quarter. And the other 4th down play was when they were about 4th and 5 and 4th and yards, and they faked the punt and tried to, do a trick play, and instead lost 3 yards. So those were just 2 big mistakes by Bill O'Brien that should have utilized to force the Texans to go for a first down, rather than turning the ball back over to the Chiefs offense, which we have seen was like one of the best offenses of the weekend. 51 points. Mahomes was just lightning. Fun to watch this week. He's going to be very fun to watch against Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry against that Chiefs defense. I'm excited to see that. So, and the final game of the weekend, which was kind of like the least exciting game for me because I didn't really care about who was going to win. Sorry, but the Packers versus Seattle Seahawks. Without Russell Wilson, I don't think Seattle would have made it as far as they have this entire season. He was their leading rusher. He was the only reason the offense got anything going. And so Marshawn Lynch did have 2 rushing touchdowns. Good for him, but I just feel like in the end, if there was stronger pressure on Davante Adams, Aaron Rodgers would not have been able to complete as many passes as he did, because the connection that those 2 have are kind of the only 2 that are on the field right now. Jimmy Graham is just dropping balls everywhere. Lazard was injured early and hasn't really done anything for the team this season. Aaron Jones for the rushing game is their key player as well. There's truly only 3 people that are threats on that team, and that's Aaron Rodgers if he ever wants to run. It's more so his arm. And then Davante Adams on the receiving, and Aaron Jones for the rushing game. So I'm 99.99% sure if the 49ers defense shuts down those 3 weapons, I guess you could call them, then it'll be an easy win for them. Aaron Rodgers will just have to play like the Aaron Rodgers from 10 years ago, where he was just magnetic, electric, running around the defense, just like way more athletically challenging than he is right now. So for that game, you got to hand it off to the Packers defense. They were really strong in the beginning of the year, and they kind of came back to the light this game against Seattle, and I think it was very necessary because Seattle doesn't have a strong offense, as I had said. So for these 4 games, I mean, They were very exciting to watch. Not very upsetting except for Baltimore on my end at least, but I do predict it's going to be the Niners and the Chiefs in the end. Actually, no. Tennessee and the Chiefs, I'm not going to even call that game because I have no idea who I think will win. I feel like they both have very strong offenses, but the Titans defense is a little bit better than the Chiefs defense, so I think that'll be something that they need to be prepared for. But it's like crazy that football is ending in 2 weeks, and I'm excited to see what happens. I'll probably have like a shorter video for next week just because we'll only have literally one game to analyze, and that'll be the Super Bowl. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great week, and if you've got any comments, questions, don't forget to leave them down below and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.